happening? Oh, shit. Hold on. Hold everything. Oh, shit. There goes Kitty. Come back, Kitty. Come back. Come on. She'll come back. What's happening, everybody? Hope you're doing well. Come on. Come on, boo-boo. We are coming to you live, as you can see. Things happen. Cats are just terrible actors. It really comes down to that. They can't hit the mark. They can't stay. Get up here. Get up. You have a mark right now. Come on. Good kitty. All right. All right. Today is December 9th, 2025. Hope you guys are all doing well. I'm coming to you today, my Uncle Ed's birthday. And excuse me while I look around and double check the feed and everything until I get focused here. All right. All right. You good with that, kitty? You good with that? Okay. See if we can get her in a little better spot here. Okay. All right. Once again, coming to you live, as you can see. Welcome to the show, everybody, and my friend June. Today's show, I want to tell you about the way forward, really. You may have seen in recent months and years, presidents and candidates suggest all types of solutions. And I've got some recorded here for you so we can go through the suggested solutions. But I think you can see from the current state of affairs that none of it's worked. Or at least we're not on the same page here. And the United States could get a lot better and a lot more efficient. And we really should. It's time. It may be an existential threat right now. Okay. When you look out the universe right now, there's not too much going on. We still haven't made contact with the aliens. I don't think they're around. I don't think anybody's made contact yet. And if we do, it'd probably be inconsequential. Unless they just give us a whole bunch of technology, that'd be great. But not too worried about that. Yes, of course, we could be obliterated at any time by an incoming, just right-sized asteroid that's too big or too small for us to spot, but big enough to cause a thermonuclear explosion level event at ground level, anywhere on Earth, really, at any time, coming from any angle. That's still a real threat, but not much we can do about it. We're working on it. Got the AI working on it now, I'm sure. Cataloging the sky. Got some great new telescopes up recently. Oh, I should show you some pictures of that stuff. Man, fantastic astronomy things happening right now. And I'll include that in future episodes here. I intend to include future visuals and audio for your entertainment. Right now this is bare bones, as you can see. This isn't even a real bookshelf right here. I mean, it is. It's right over there, but it's not right here. So anyway, hold on. I'm going to grab my Coca-Cola and see if I can grab my Coke without scaring Kitty away here. I think I can. She's pretty good. Okay. This is your product placement for the day. I love Coke. It's terrible for you, probably, but something good about it. Something good about it. That's what I'm going to say today. Coke, something good about it. It's not all bad. I don't think. Anyway, I don't get paid for that. You're not going to believe that, but I don't get paid for that. All right. The way forward. We've been told really two different strategies for how to move forward here for the United States. And they're both wrong. The two strategies are, on the one hand, we have the Keynesians, and really every president for the last 40, 50 years, they've all tried the same strategy, and that is spend. Spend and grow grow our way out of the debt. That's what everybody's plan has been. Eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse. I've literally heard that since Reagan. And no matter who gets elected, it doesn't matter. You can't do it because, well, that's the other solution. Okay. So there's two. Here we go. Let me back up. Don't want to lose you. They are, number one, spending. I know Reagan, I know he was kind of a cut guy, but not really. When you look at the spending for the military, there was huge deficit spending. And the debt continues to grow. And that is what every president since him has done, including Clinton. I know people will talk about Clinton's positive deficit, okay, which is an annual thing, doesn't relate to the debt in any significant way, unfortunately. So we still incurred more debt during the Clinton era. And of course, Newt and the Congress was largely responsible for the directions in those years. But the point is, you can't do it that way. We can't spend our way out of it. And the evidence is, of course, we're seeing is the massive inflation that we're getting right now. And, Obama tried. Oh my God. Obama will probably tell you right now, if you were to sit in front of him, he'd probably be like, I saved the economy. I saved it. We saved it all with massive spending. It was easy. All we did, we did the brave thing. We made the hard choices. We spent the shit out of everybody's dollars. Okay, now what they're doing actually when they do that, of course, is they're inflating the shit out of the money supply and devaluing everybody's dollars. Everybody in the whole earth, they're stealing from everybody. Inflation in MMT is theft, and the sooner everybody comes to realize that, the better off we'll be. And I'm going to offer a solution that's consistent with the solutions to every problem that I'm going to bring up in today's little discussion as the same solution, and that is competition. Competition is really what's going to save us. But it has to be doled out in a particular way. But first, let me get back to what doesn't work. Another thing that doesn't work, the other thing that doesn't work, aside from spending, is cuts. We have had massive attempts at cuts, spending cuts. Again, cuts for waste, fraud, and abuse, DOGE, the whole thing. We're going to cut $2 trillion. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not going to cut all of Social Security or any of these things. And the reason is because it's too disruptive. You can't throw millions of people out of work. There are too many people's circumstances and lives that have evolved pursuant to the bad policies that we've been under for the last few decades. And the problem is there's literally infrastructure in place because of these bad policies. So in order to dismantle the bad policies, you have to do it the right way. You have to do it in order. Everything has to go in order or you fuck it up badly. And that's what, I mean, let's just take a casual example for the spending cuts just real quick. Let's say you were to cut the military. Everybody has said, our military is 10 times bigger than everybody else, bigger than the next 10 combined, whatever it is. You could easily cut 10%. But no, because you'll throw certain communities just into a tizzy when the battleship doesn't get built in that city, or a whole bunch of people get discharged and relieved, and you just can't throw that many people out of work and expect there not to be significant negative economic consequences. It ripples through people's lives. And so what do? I'll tell you. All right, first let's listen to a couple of the ideas, though, from some of the popular people today, and just so we can address some of their ideas. This is a rich leftist idea of some solutions here.
They typically don't want policy or incremental changes. The reality is structural change around affordability is going to take years, if not decades. You need antitrust, you need more competition, you need a massive investment in housing, you need to ensure that there aren't 3 chicken companies controlling the entire poultry market, you need 10, you need to break up big tech, You need minimum wage to go to 25 bucks an hour, which would hurt the stock prices of McDonald's and Walmart, and it would be worth it. You need to put more money in the pockets of spenders, low and middle income homes. You need an actual progressive
Crap. Okay, for some reason I can't hear this guy. It's a problem with my stream. Dang. Let's see if I can hear this guy.
The reason poverty exists in the wealthiest country on earth is not because we can't feed the poor. It's because we can't satisfy the rich. Elon Musk is about to become the first trillionaire. He's about to make more money than every elementary school teacher in America combined. Do we really believe one man is worth more than every elementary school teacher? Why do we have a trillionaire when there are kids without enough to eat? Why do we have a trillionaire when cancer patients are going bankrupt? Why do we have a trillionaire when veterans are sleeping out on the street? I'm all for success, but this is not success. This is hoarding. What leads a person to accumulate more money than they could possibly spend in 100 lifetimes when there are people starving in this one? The reason poverty exists in the wealthiest country on earth is not because we can't feed the poor. It's because we can't satisfy the rich. But what we can do is tax trillionaires out of existence. And use that money to guarantee food, healthcare, and housing for every single American.
Yeah, sure you're going to do that. I mean, sure you're going to do that. Let's talk about each one of these things in order, really, because this guy is so confused. And this guy is an elected representative, by the way. He is at the state level. He's elected. And his idea is to tax trillionaires out of existence because he thinks that they're hoarding wealth. I mean, this guy actually believes in the hoarding philosophy still. Like he thinks that Elon's money is like in a vault somewhere. He doesn't realize it's been loaned out? Does he not know that? I mean, how he talks about Elon not being able to spend the money in his lifetime. There's just so many things wrong with this. But let's just take it because I know this guy's coming back around.
The reason poverty exists in the wealthiest country on earth is not because we can't feed the poor. It's because we can't satisfy the rich.
Okay, let me just stop you right there. Poorness exists in the state of nature. It's just there. It happens because people are born. New people are born. And you know what? They've got nothing when they're born. Only thing you have when you're born is your body and your mind. And you don't even have that for a while, right? Your parents have to raise you for a few years before you have that. After you get that, then you can trade that for other stuff. But you're born completely poor and completely dependent on other people. So it doesn't have anything to do with any system at all. If there were no system at all, people would still be born completely poor. So it's not that we can't satisfy the rich. This guy seems to believe in the static pie theory. The rich people exist today, and there's more wealth today than ever before. More people and more wealth. Now, he doesn't seem to understand the rich people exists on top of everybody else being wealthy. The poor people today have a standard of living kings 100 years ago would only dream of, and it's all because of the wealth that's created by the trillionaires. To tax them out of existence, Jesus, of course, he wouldn't even tax them out of existence. He would tax them out of the country. He would tax them out of his jurisdiction is what he would do because they'd go somewhere else. And why wouldn't they? And you can't blame them for all of those issues. Cancer patient. I mean, come on, man. Look, each one of those things has its own solution. This guy's just got platitudes. Let's hear some more, though. Let's hear some more. Where did that thing go? Oh. Boy, having a little technical difficulty today. Here it is. All right.
Elon Musk is about to become the first trillionaire. He's about to make more money than every elementary school teacher in America combined. Do we really believe one man is worth more than every elementary school teacher?
So technically, yes. I mean, You just did the math. And we do, in fact, as a collective society, value him and his contribution more than every elementary school teacher. It's just math. Now, there's nothing you can do about it. And I mean, all you can do is ask people to give more money to the elementary schools. I mean, Elon's not asking for money, or at least I know. Look, for all those of you who are like, well, he gets subsidized and everything. Yeah, you're right. And he shouldn't get any of that stuff. And that's all socialist solutions. Those are bad solutions. They're problems that we all want addressed, but I'm gonna offer some better ways here in just a minute. But first, I want to hear more about what this guy has to say.
Why do we have a trillionaire when there are kids without enough to eat?
There are no kids without enough to eat in this country.
Why do we have a trillionaire when cancer patients are going bankrupt?
Cancer patients are going bankrupt because we have a socialist healthcare system that bankrupts people. It allows the government to claw back money that it ostensibly offers for free after treating patients and up to 3 years and bankrupt people. It allows the government to do that on behalf of hospitals and such. And so, that's a bad system. And I'm going to argue that's it's part of our overall socialist system, unfortunately.
Why do we have a trillionaire when veterans are sleeping out on the street?
Jesus, there's so many different things about that. Veterans sleeping out on the street. I mean, really? Look, I just don't even know how to address that. That's like saying, why do there are drug addicts in the country. Why do we have a trillionaire? They're just completely unrelated. I mean, veterans have issues that are horrible because war sucks. And poor people have issues that keep them out on the street. They're two different things. Yeah, okay, there's a group of people who are also poor, who are also veterans, but it doesn't have anything to do with the trillionaires. The trillionaires are actually providing solutions. You'll see.
I'm all for success, but this is not success. This is hoarding.
Hoarding. Like, again, this guy thinks... Well, I would like him to define hoarding, because I bet he gives you the theory that Elon's just got his money in a bank somewhere or buried in gold or whatever it is. He just doesn't understand how the economics of it work.
What leads a person to accumulate more money than they could possibly spend in 100 lifetimes?
All right, think about that. If he couldn't spend the money in 100 lifetimes, what is leading him to do it? How about altruism? I mean, if he can't possibly spend the money, then it's really got to be something else, right?
When there are people starving in this one. The reason poverty exists in the wealthiest country on earth is not because we can't feed the poor. It's because we can't satisfy the rich. But what we can do is tax trillionaires out of existence.
And again, it wouldn't work.
And use that money to guarantee food, healthcare, and housing for every single American.
And also, that wouldn't happen. That's been tried before. He thinks he's the first person to say we're going to tax the rich people and give the money to the poor. Does he really think that? Does he not know how the income tax was introduced 100 years ago? Specifically, what it was for and who it taxed? Does he not know that? He acts like he doesn't. And either way, either he does know. I don't think he knows. I think he's ignorant. I think he's a young guy, clearly, and I just don't think he understands that his solutions, which seem so obvious to him, are things that people have already tried. So we'll see. Let me see if I can get this guy. Dang it! I hope. I want to hear what this guy.
Tax structure, not the one that's progressive till the.
Hear him. I don't know. I can't get the mix, because this guy had more specific things to say. But here, I tell you what we'll do. I'm going to do it the inverse way. I'm going to show you a list of the other people's things and why they won't work as well. All right. Look at this. This is the kind of stuff. The reason I'm doing this is because look at this. You see this kind of stuff. I mean, capitalism is. Is this a real person? I mean, I'm wondering. Is this a real person? Are they in America? Do they really think that? Does this guy? to me, it's a little bit perplexing because it's like this guy's been convinced that capitalism and freedom are antithetical. And yet, in my mind, of course, they go hand in hand. So I think what he's doing is I think he's equating parts of what he sees today as the American system as capitalist, and it's just not. And I'm going to explain. And we're going to go into that in just a minute. I promise. I promise we're going into that. But first, we get a little bit more here. A little bit. Okay, here he goes. Now, this is the opposite, okay? This is Being Libertarian. Trent Steele, Liberty Dad, good guy. Always reposting this. Okay, this is how you MAGA, he says. End the wars. I mean, look, it would be nice, okay, but there's two different potential situations with war, and one of them is strategic. So you can't just say end the wars because it might be strategic. It might be that we have to fight the war for strategic reasons. So if it's a war just for oil or for money or land or something, not that the United States has been conquering a bunch of land, but, you know, we certainly have fought some wars to force the petrodollar on people, or so it seems. And those wars could certainly be stopped. But you can't just end all wars or anything. So end the Fed. And that would be nice. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute when I talk about competition for currency. And that's really a huge move, and that could happen. And that's one thing that actually could happen on this list. End all incentives to migrate illegally. And you could do that in some ways. That is to say, you could say no benefits for anybody unless they're a full citizen, and then you could make it difficult to become a full citizen. But as it is right now, the whole purpose, or a big purpose, well, unless you count the voting situation, a big purpose of all the incentives for people to get here is all the social nets. And the social nets, they protect all of us. And so it's hard to get rid of some of that without getting rid of the good parts as well, or at least, I don't want to say good parts, but other parts which, if you got rid of, would have detrimental effects on the economy, which, again, I'll talk about in 1 second. Again, end foreign government lobbyists. You can't do that. You just got to let people speak. Just let people do. Nobody has to listen, okay? I know this person's concerned about the Israel lobby here. Foreign aid, yeah. There's no reason for us to be dishing out foreign aid anymore. We for a long time, we bought security, okay? That's how we did it. That's why we put foreign aid everywhere, is so that people would let us write their security policy. See Zihan about this situation. He goes into it in great detail. We could cut back substantially now on the foreign aid without a big detriment to anything of our security. But I'll let that one go too. I'm not doing too well with this list here. And the income tax. Yeah, in theory, you could do that, but it's not going to help too much because there's a whole bunch of taxes. And at this point, they're getting more money from the inflation, really, than the taxes. So you could end all the taxes and they would still get us via the inflation. So I have another solution that's better than that, and that's the currency competition. Ending property taxes. Yeah, I mean, look, eventually we want to end all taxes because taxes are the mistake. Taxes are the unethical thing that we put in government. We've convinced ourselves at this stage in our governmental theory development that taxes are necessary. For everybody has to be in. Everybody's got to have skin in the game, even if we got to force you at the point of a gun. And we don't. We don't have to do that. We can have a voluntary government. We could get everybody to pitch in, and the government would get enough. And yeah, it might not get enough to wage a bunch of foreign wars, but it should get enough. So we do want to end taxes, but you can't do it right now like that. First, you have to replace the spending that the taxes cover. And I'll go into some ways that we could do that. because there are some ways you could solicit donations from individuals and from companies in re taxes and trumpet the success of having people sponsor certain areas that were formerly public. All right, kitty. Fine, go ahead. All right. All right. Another reason I do this show live is because I am getting tired of these AI videos. I got to tell you. So I know it's crazy here. I know it's crazy, but I'm just going to let you know I'm a real person. And so, whoops, see, I just messed it up. I messed it up. It's because I'm also the production crew here. So, all right, let me get back to this list real quick. All right, like, and the Department of Education, that's one of the kind of things that you've seen recently from conservative sides. Is look, let's just end this entire branch. And unfortunately, again, the problem with doing that is you throw thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people out of work. You displace people. You cause all this disruption in the community. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be ended. It should be ended, but it's got to be done in a way that doesn't cause massive economic dislocation. And that's what this show is all about. Secure the borders. I think people are pretty much on board with that at this point. Use Constitution, whatever. Question leaders. Okay. All right. Can't get this spot. Okay. What am I talking about here? What am I talking about? Competition is the thing that's going to save us if we want to get out of our current economic quandary. Let's start. Okay. Here's the theory behind what I'm talking about. If we can't spend our way out of this situation, and we can't, because the inflation's just gonna get worse. And if you think it's bad now, just wait, because it's still coming. It's coming so bad. It's coming. Because people they're gonna try to spend their way out of it, because that's the easy way. If you could spend your way out of it, then everybody would be happy. You would grow. And look, it's theoretically possible, because if you invested the money in exactly the right things, well, then it would be productive. The productivity would outweigh the cost. That's what proper investment is. Problem is that when you do it from a political standpoint, and as opposed to from an economic standpoint, when you do it from the standpoint of, well, we're just going to solve this problem with all this money, as opposed to, I see this solution to this problem that I'm going to solve, and by the way, I'm going to make some money along the way. You create distortions. You create these horrible distortions because you're trying to pick places to put money that are unnatural. If it were natural, you could just let it happen. But you don't want to. You want to solve the problem, and so you jump in and you try to do it. And what happens is you end up having things like Solyndra, which is you fund things that are more speculative than a banker and an engineer would bet their money and time on, because the money is cheaper. That's the whole point. And it's just not going to work, because when you make the cheap money like that, you got to pay for it on the back end, and that's what we're going to end up doing. So the spending is just going to make things just horribly worse, but that's the way we're going, just so you know. Okay, this is just an academic discussion. This is just for us, okay? About what could happen in theory. But first, I'm sure we're going to break the shit of everything by spending the shit out of it and really having an inflation event that requires a currency haircut, probably in the next decade. I don't even think the productivity of the AI can lift us out of that coming pinch. But we'll see. We'll see, because that's the way we're going. But what we should do, all right, instead of spending and instead of cutting, what we should do is we should free the workers. We free the workers and we embrace competition at all levels of society. Let me give you an example. The top level, the number one level, which is probably the last one that we would do. Currency competition. That's what we need to have. Definitely. Okay. Without it, we'll lose the battle. Okay. We'll lose because we're in a world now that's big enough with enough alternatives that if you don't allow for freedom, you're going to get beat because you're not going to be able to control it as well as the float will be able to control it. The market will outsmart you. It'll outthink you, and it'll do an end run around you. It'll be faster than you. Trust me, because it's a whole bunch of people. That's all it is. Think of the market as millions and millions of people, smart people, and they're working on shit. And it doesn't matter how smart you are. You're not as smart as all of them combined. So you're not going to win by having a controlled currency. The United States, the dollar is going to be the last controlled currency. And people will still do them, but I don't think that you'll have, well, we'll see. I mean, anything's possible. But it would be nice if the dollar were the last controlled currency, because it really needs to compete with other currencies if it's worth anything. Take out your dollar. Take out a dollar out of your pocket, and you'll notice that there are two signatures on every dollar that you have in your pocket. Why is that? Why, Curtis, are there two signatures on the dollars in your pocket? It's because that's a promissory note. A promissory note. What do you get for a promissory note? You get the stuff that you're promised on that piece of paper, which used to be $1 of silver. $1 is really an ounce, okay? It's a unit of measurement of weight. And that is really what the value of the dollar used to be. Now it's nothing. It's just going on momentum right now. We're a total fiat currency. We have a little bit of backing with some oil situation. Not really, though. Not really. You can't exchange it for anything. So it's just going down, and it's going down fast. And what we really should do is we should back it to something immediately, and we should allow competition in the currency. If the dollar's so good, why is it illegal for anybody to use anything else? That's just all there is to it. That should be the number one thing. And it wouldn't hurt anybody. Think about it. Who would hurt? The big bankers siphoning off money off the top. The 2% guys. The guys who get the 2% float. That's who it would hurt. Oh, no. It's not going to cause... They're going to absorb that shit. You see what I'm getting at? They're going to absorb it. They can deal with a 2% haircut. Okay? They can deal with it. The people shouldn't have to deal with it. So, currency competition. And look, all we would need is a ruling from the Supreme Court that says that Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution does not prohibit. It allows Congress to coin money. It says Congress shall have the power to coin money. It does not prohibit other coinage of money and the competition of money. Competition is a core American value. We need to embrace it. Hardcore. Let me give you another example. Patents. Patents and copyrights fall into the same thing. Patents and copyrights are privilege. Now, you might think, as a lot of people do, that this comes from the Constitution. It's super important because it comes from the Constitution. So does slavery. Remember 3/5, the whole thing, slavery? The whole women can't vote thing? I mean, maybe that's a good idea. But look, the point is the Constitution's not 100% sacred. It's got to have good ideas. And it's amendable. It has been amended. And it should be amended further. Patents and copyrights, we don't even need to amend it to do this, really. All you got to do is reduce the protections to practically zero. There may have been a time when it was useful for patents and copyrights, for people to secure, as it says, their labor, the fruits of their labor, for a limited time. Back in the day, okay, in the 1700s. You don't have to do that today. You can make contracts overnight for distribution and everything. Look, patents, people think that they are a boon to creativity. They're not. They're not. People aren't out there just trying to create stuff to get the patent. I mean, you might be doing it, but really you're doing it to solve the need, right? That's really what you do. You solve the need, then you get the patent, then you get the money. That's how it works. The patent itself, necessity is the mother of invention, okay? Not the U.S. Patent Office. And people are going to continue to invent. And the patents, if you think about it, patents and copyrights are privileged. And they're privileged. They're government monopolies, government-granted monopolies to who? Do you have a patent? No. Do I have a patent? Not really. Maybe some copyrights, but nothing much. And the point is that it's the rich people who hold most of the value of the patents and copyrights. So if we were to cut into that privilege, that government-granted monopoly that for some reason has been taken as a good thing in this country, and allow workers to take over, think of the incredible boon to productivity and to workers' value that we would have if we eliminated patents and copyrights. All right, first of all, you got to remember, China doesn't give a shit about our patents and copyrights. So they're copying us at a record pace anyway. They're ripping off everything that we can. So really, our patents and copyrights only inhibit our companies. Other countries' companies can compete against our companies freely, but our government inhibits our people through our copyright and patent system from competing at that same level. In other words, we're going to fucking lose, okay? You can't compete against unbridled economic activity. You can't. You can't compete against unbridled activity with regulations and shit, okay? I'm going to get to the robots here in a minute and the unions, because these are two other areas that we're killing ourselves. And I mean literally killing ourselves, because you can't let China or anybody get that far ahead. You cannot let them do that. And the only solution is more freedom. If we were to allow, just imagine we dropped patents and copyrights tomorrow, okay? What would happen? What would happen? Everybody would look around. What could we rip off? What could we steal? What could we... Don't think of it as stealing, though. Think of it as copying. What could we copy and distribute? Because to the extent that patents and copyrights are a boon on productivity at all, they're a drag on distribution. And I'm going to argue that they're a greater drag on distribution than they are a boon to productivity. What does it matter if somebody has a product if nobody can get it? I mean, it sucks. And for us to legally require, say, oh, look, it's this one guy because they got to the patent office first. And you know how that goes. I'm sure you've seen lawyer shows about people who hide little things in patents so that they can go sue people when somebody comes up with something that's close and maybe useful. And it all gets to be just bullshit lawyer shit. I mean, and it's not productive. It's totally not productive. It's counterproductive. Elon says patents are for losers, and I believe him. The fact is, if you can't compete, all right, go ahead. Look at his patents. He has no patents. Go ahead and I know the companies have some, because you're not going to talk the shareholders out of doing that shit. But for him personally, and for me personally, look, I give you my permission to copy all of my shit. How about that? Go ahead. Free. Copy it. Copy it. Go ahead. Clone me. Do it. Okay? I give my permission because I'm going to win. Because I'm not stifling the creativity and the productivity. Whereas our system now of patents and copyrights is horrible, horrible stifling. I mean, think about somebody invents something like the AI. Let's say that they have a copyright or a patent on a chip or a software situation, and nobody can use it. Let's say that people can. I mean, let's say that it's out there, okay, but it's under copyright or under patent law. Well, who's gonna rip it off? China, other people, not our people, because you can't. You know what the penalties are? I'm sure you probably heard this when somebody gets caught like copying something. Oh, like recently, hey, perfect example. The AI trained on a whole bunch of books, and now the book people are suing the AI for billions and billions of dollars because they're saying that they didn't allow it's unfair use. It's a violation of their copyright. Okay, so the AI can afford it, right? But if you just think about how ridiculous it is that they have to pay, that somebody is going to shut down the AI if they don't pay them, and they would too. And do you know how much of it's $150,000 per violation, right? So let's say somebody makes a copy of your book, or your pamphlet or whatever it is, and they start distributing it. Each copy is $150,000 potential damages. Okay, that's how onerous the copyright and patent laws are. I know a guy who designs boats, and every once in a while the Chinese rip off his boat designs, and a boat shows up at the port that he designed, and he literally has it crushed. He has the boat crushed, a giant freaking piece of property, a fantastic $100,000 piece of property, crushed into nothing. Why? The law. Because he got to the patent office first. It's just stupid. The entire patent and copyright paradigm is antiquated, counterproductive. It is anti-competition, and it's monopolistic. It's bad on every level. It institutionalizes inequality, and it sucks. So we could get rid of that. And if we did, it wouldn't disrupt the economics of the country, because it would start by hacking into very rich people's bottom line in a very minimal way. Okay, people would immediately rush to, if you dropped all the patents, let me get back to that. People would immediately rush to copy what they could. Like, for example, there'd be a lot of drugs, right? Think of that. All of a sudden, a lot of drugs would be available from a lot of different providers to a lot of people. How harmful is that? It's not. It's super good. It's super good. The competition would be super good. And look, the companies, the landed companies, still have an advantage. They've been doing this for a long time. They've got the scientists. They should have the momentum. If they have a good, decent, and reasonable, what is the word I'm looking for? Fair economic policy. That is to say, if they're offering their goods at a fair price, then they should be able to maintain their advantage, or at least market share. But if they're ripping people off because of their monopoly, because of their patent, then, well, too bad, right? That's the way it should go. We have patents. And I'm not talking about trademark, okay? I'm not talking about impersonating a company, all right? We don't want you to go around and say that you're AstraZeneca and that these are AstraZeneca drugs. No, that's fraud, okay? But you can say, I developed these drugs using the AstraZeneca formula. That should be perfectly legal. And again, competition will save us, and it'll empower the workers immediately empower the workers. Let me give you another example. Licensing. Every licensing paradigm is a scheme. And you know this because at some point, first of all, they all just started in the last century. And whoever started them didn't have a license to give out licenses. They just made that shit up. They were like, okay, we're in charge. They got a mandate from Congress or some legislature which says you're the board of such and such, the medical board. And you get to say who gets to work in this area. And we've had, think about the detriment to all of our health in the last 5 years because every medical professional is beholden to some medical board which can literally remove their livelihood with the stroke of a pen. They can get a letter which says cease practicing immediately. Stop all work. And I mean, it's amazing the power of these boards. And let me tell you, I hate to tell you this, but they are super corrupt. I used to have the highest respect for the Florida bar. And I can tell you that I now know it is the lowest of the group of lawyers. It is absolutely, they're the worst of the worst. They're the second worst of the worst because they're also super incompetent, okay? If they were just a little bit more competent, they would be even worse. Probably DCF is down at the bottom. But the regulatory boards are replete with just, I hate to tell you this, but horrible individuals. It turns out that the way that the filter works is all the bad people go into the regulatory boards. So if you think about it, you'll realize why that is the case. It's because they can't work in the field, right? So they gravitate towards being the ones who get to say who can and can't work because that's safe, right? Then they're safe. And then once they get there, they protect each other. And man, it becomes a super, super tight cabal to try to get into. And there are regulatory boards regulating every single type of work in the entire United States at this point. Every single type. You want to read somebody's palms? You have to pay. You have to pay a fee. You have to go probably to some kind of palm reading class. It's true. You want to cut somebody's hair? You think you can just cut hair in the United States and the land of the free? Hell fucking no, man. You got to get a license, 6 months of cosmetology school, pay the boards, get the mandatory certifications. What a bunch of crap. The competition is so incredibly stifled in this country. You literally can't work at anything. Anything. Well, I take it back. You can be a comedian. I'll tell you that. There's no regulations for being a comedian. I think you can be a musician still without two really regulations. But man, that is about it. We're talking everything. And the boards violate one of our core precepts, which is, in this country, we believe that reasonable people can disagree. Reasonable people can disagree. Our entire civil justice system is based on the concept that reasonable people can disagree on something. But that's not what regulation is based on. Regulation is based on there's a reasonable way to do things, and if you're outside of that, you're being unreasonable and you're in violation. All reasonable paths are condensed down into a one-size-fits-all with every type of regulation that we have. And it stifles competition. And not only that, but it's captured. I know one of the things that guy I was trying to get you to hear was saying, and you could probably hear him, and it was that he wanted there to be certain regulations like antitrust. He wanted to break up big tech, and he wanted there to be strict regulations on certain big companies. And what he is missing is that those become the first things that people go after. The lobbying groups, they go after those first. And so they become captured and then become tools of the control and then make the problem worse. Another thing he suggested, I know, was he wanted a $25 minimum wage. Minimum wage is just a price control. It's a price control like any other price control, whether it's bread or oil. Anytime you try to set a price, a blanket price from a central location, you do all kinds of harm. First of all, you completely distort the pricing mechanism. So to the extent that something should be more or less, it can't be because you've made some kind of a law. And so you're fucking people up just straight out of the gun. But it distorts things in so many ways. For example, the minimum wage, sure, you might raise some people's salaries. Some minimum wage workers might get paid more, but some are probably going to get fired. And on the margin, the harm is probably going to be worse than the benefit. And the reason is because you are an individual making a political decision for a large group of people, and the market is a large group of people making individual decisions for themselves. And the latter is clearly much more adaptable, much better. It's much more focused. And it's just going to be much more effective. And so, yeah, it's just a terrible idea. And it's anti-government. It's anti-worker. Okay, anti-worker for you to try to set a minimum wage. You literally are boxing people out of the economy. So liberty is the way to go, and competition is the way to increase people's salaries. I just told you, there are things that we could do to remove the monopolies that governments have and increase the workers' ability to get hired because new industries come online. I'll give you another example. Power. For some reason, we've decided power in this country, electricity specifically, I'm talking about, is something that only government should work on. Nobody should try to compete with the government making power. And yet it's just so stupid. It's like, and now we have these people like I live in this tiny town, and the power people in this town, I swear to God, they make hundreds of thousands of dollars a piece, like $500,000 a piece. They're getting paid. Okay. They've given themselves these salaries and they've made themselves this important through their contacts with the local city or county council. And they get paid fantastically unreasonable amounts. And our power sucks, okay? It sucks. All right, yeah, it's great to have power and everything, but I promise you it would be 10 times better if there was competition. Now, I know some of you people are going to be like, well, Texas had competition and they fucked it up. Look, it takes a little time, all right? You have to let people work on shit. You have to establish a base protocol, and then you have to let it develop for a while before you see the results. But the bottom line is freedom and competition has got to provide better services than monopolies, right? So why do we grant government monopolies to all the power places when we could simply allow anybody to compete with that? And again, once again, this is something that would not hack into normal people's economies right away. This would hack into, in fact, it would return money to the municipalities by if the competition was better and attracted some of the funds. So another area, zoning, another area, mandatory, keeping people out of here and there. How many times have you looked back and seen pictures of communities which seem well knit together, where you've got some houses that are close to a little store or someplace else that could be used? No, not anymore, because we have these blanket zoning things, and it was all because of this stupid ass decision. Actually, I think the decision is misinterpreted. It's Euclid v. Ambler Realty. My great grandfather wrote the decision. Anyway, doesn't matter. Sucks. I mean, look, like I said, I think it's misinterpreted. The bottom line is there's no reason why we should have strict zoning like we do. It should be unconstitutional. We should allow people, it's competition for property, for land. And we've stifled the competition for land by having these zoning laws and these zones. It's so un-American to have these zones. I mean, what? Fuck off with the zoning shit. If the community doesn't want a business there, they won't patronize the business. So you don't have to have that kind of stuff. You just don't have to have, especially not the way that we have it now, which is blanket everything everywhere. So, let's see. There are others. For example, the shipping monopoly situation, which is going on right now. I'm sure you're aware of the Jones Act and how that impacts shipping. These types, we've got regulations upon regulations upon regulations which prevent competition. And to the extent that we can extricate ourselves from that and get back to actual competition, eliminate licensing, eliminate zoning, eliminate patents, copyrights, and allow currency competition, those things would make a paradigm shift, okay? You wouldn't even have to, I'm not even talking about getting rid of taxes at this point. I mean, if you just did those things and just let people work, let people compete. Because I can tell you what, they're going to have to compete on the world stage anyway. And to the extent that we are stifling that, we're getting behind. We're getting behind. So, all right, this has gone on for a long-ass time for me. So I think I'm going to end it for now on this one subject, really, and not get into the other fun things that I have here today, just because I got stuff to do. So that's it anyway. That's my solution. I hope you can see how this is better than cuts or spending and empowers workers at the grassroots level. You socialists should be totally on board with this, okay? This is power to the people. And the libertarians also totally on board. So I'm telling you, this could get us halfway back if we could get these things done. Halfway back. So anyway, hope you had a good time. Have a great day.